All right, welcome back. That was Sam I Am with Simca. Before that, we had Rocket from the Crypt on a Rope. Sam I Am with Clean. The Manarov, or just Manarovs with Agent V. And before that, Sam I Am with Dull. Giant Eagles with Anaconda, maybe one of the worst movies ever made. And brand new Sam I Am with Lights Out Little Hustler. So you're wondering why. Why so much Sam I Am? Well, I'm going to tell you because we are joined now by Sergie Lukoff from Sam I Am, joining us all the way from LA. Thank you. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed a little bit of hesitancy right when you said my name.
I was reading, I'm reading the list and I'm reading that, and then I'm watching him do all the controls, and I'm like, I'm going to mess this up big time, aren't I?
Yeah, I feel like every time I do an interview, yeah, every time I order coffee or even it's like
It's problem.
Sergie, Sugi, Saggy, Sloggy. And I'm just like, oh man,
When they totally just make it a different name. Hey, Steve.
you
Okay.
know.
There's Steve.
Actually, what
No.
when I get coffee and or whenever there's a PA and they say, hey, is there a name for this order? I always go Peaches because I'm just like I want to give these people a break right
There you
here.
go. Peaches. I like it. All right. So Peaches Lukoff is joining us now from Sam I Am. We're so happy to have you here, man. I've followed the band for many years. I think the reason I put I put Sore on that list? I think it was one of my what did I put on there? Oh, Clean. I put Clean on there because that was like one of the first songs I heard from you guys that I was just like, man, this I was really excited. That was I loved you guys. And I only got to see you guys once, and it's very disappointing because you guys are actually out here on the East Coast on a pretty regular basis. Like you were just
Yeah,
here for the Atlantic City music festival that was just out here, and
yeah.
I didn't know. And I think I was the night before I was at another show and I heard you guys were playing. And I was like, man, I got other stuff. There's no way I'm going to make it. So
Yeah, we actually play Jersey. Uh, we play only in America, only a few places like yearly in the last like 20 years. And Jersey's one of like Brooklyn and Jersey, the
yeah,
Bay Area where we're from. But and like Germany, like almost every year for like 30 years. And sometimes we went like three times a year, like in the 90s and stuff. But Bill, you guys are in the shore, and I think we only played down in the shore like once. We actually, when we were in Atlantic, we had an AR guy, Chris Rivera, that was from down the shore.
oh really? Okay.
Yes, and I haven't talked to him in a while, but I talked to a bunch of his friends a lot. But yeah, it'd be funny if he was listening right now. Like, shout out to Chris Rivera.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Yeah, you guys will be here, I think, in New York. You guys are playing in about a month or two, I believe.
In April, yeah.
April, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. So I'm gonna try to get up there, see if I can catch you guys up there. So, and then you guys are you'll be touring with Bouncing Souls coming up, I believe. You're gonna be open.
Yeah, that's another Jersey thing. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, but that's a West Coast. Or you're doing the whole tour.
No, we're doing Chicago down to the Midwest and South down to Florida and then to Florida into Texas.
Oh,
So
okay, cool. All right,
kind of like we're missing you guys on that one,
all
but
right, okay, all right. So obviously, new song first, I guess, in about 10 years that you've had new music out, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Our last record was called Trips and it came out in 2011.
Yep, trips. Yeah.
And then since 2011, we tried to get it. It wasn't like anyone it wasn't a hiatus, it wasn't really anything. We tried to do like demos. Uh, well, we did demos, I think 5 times since then, like starting 2015. And every time, like everyone was pumped. But Jason, the singer, is like all pumped. He's like, okay, uh, we did all the music, and then Jason was like, okay, we're gonna, I'm gonna go home, and I'm gonna. He has access to like, he's the only guy that still lives in the Bay Area, and has access to go like whenever he wants to like the studio that's owned by Green Day. Like and he's like, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna go sing to this. It's great. We're so excited. And like I said, like 5 times since 2000, I think either 15 or 14, we did demos with like, a couple of songs, like 3 or 5 or 6 songs, and he never sang to any of them. 5 times.
Oops, forgot.
Including the last time after we had signed to this label that we're on now. We actually recorded in their studio the music for more songs on an album, like 15 or 16 songs. And then the pandemic hit, and he didn't touch those.
So there is a new album that is in the works.
It's been done for a year.
Oh, okay, all right. So that's going to be released soon.
In April.
In April. Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah. When the shows are up.
When the shows. All right. So you're basically touring to support this new release.
Kind of. I mean, yes, we are, but we're not exactly like a professional. Let's like do everything, like you should in the music industry or anything.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, ostensibly, yes. But it's not like we're like, okay, let's get serious. Everyone's jumping on board and we're going to go tour for like 10 months and promote everything and take this like our career seriously.
Right. Yeah. Listen, you guys have been around a while now, and I think that your sound it's almost in a sense in its own category at times, because from the first 2-3 records, you were a little more pop punk, but then I think you guys started showing another side by the time you hit when you guys got to Atlantic Records, right? It seemed like that's where you guys started to show like another melodic viewpoint of the band, and the evolution of the sound, So,
I mean, I guess not. I mean, you're more qualified as a listener to say that. Like from our perspective, we were doing the same thing from day one.
Okay.
And that this is whatever came out.
Right.
I feel like what we're doing now, to me, is very similar to what we were doing then, except for then, like just take our first record. We just had a drummer that always played as fast as he could at every second of the time.
Right.
But that didn't have to do with our attitude. We were like, come on, play as fast as you can every second of the time, right?
Right.
And then, I was a little bit worse at guitar and a little bit worse at arranging songs. And so worse is a weird word, I guess. I mean, I consider it worse. So it didn't wasn't concise and didn't think of things like, I didn't know what a key was. You know what I mean? Like if this song is in G, it might pop into another key, like willy-nilly here or there, or it might start at one tempo and then just jump to another tempo, like willy-nilly. And a lot of people, there's a certain amount of people, like older people, I guess, it's like, oh, my favorite shit's that old, like the first 2 records or the first 3 records ever. And then they got Atlantic and they turned into alternative rock, like that stupid, like whippy stuff or whatever. And or they got more normal, right? And I go, well, I could see why maybe you might think that, because we started writing more. I mean, they would say they started writing conventionally, and that sucks, because what I liked about them was that they were weird and like quirky. And what I say is like, oh yeah, we were kind of terrible back then. We didn't know what the hell we were doing, but yes, I mean, what you said, I think we got a little bit better, but I don't think necessarily suddenly we had this change of what we wanted to sound like or anything.
You find, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, but my point was, it's just like you're way more qualified to say that statement than I am, because I don't listen to the band. So
right.
Do you find now that you've been in the business for so long, and like you were saying, John and I have these arguments about our favorite bands. You're an elitist for certain bands. So, the Swan song is always like the first or second album. The first one, you put so much passion into it. The second one, you have a little more money. It's a little more polished, engineered, things like that. And then, down the line, when new fans come in, now you want to impress the new fans, and now you're pissing off the old fans. Do you find you run into those types of troubles?
I don't feel like we do now because I feel like we're not a very big band, but we have like this like base, I guess you call it, of fans, and most of them are stuck. Despite I just mentioned a certain group of people that like play the old shit. That's usually a really small group of people. Like if we play in front of 500 people, it's like three guys in the back yelling out for like a song. And at times we sort of try to cater to those people, like erroneously thinking that's the way we should do, and like learned, like 7 older songs. But the problem is then we play those songs and those like 3 guys are like super happy, and then there's 407 and 97 people. They're like, I don't know what is this?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like if you look at Spotify, for instance, like if you look at Spotify for say like a band like Bad Religion or whatever, I'm sure those first couple of records get a lot of streams, maybe not as much as like the mid 90s or whatever. But they get a lot. But if you look at Samiam, like those 3 records are way less listened to than anything now. Even like the later records from the last couple of years just get way more plays. And so I think we're sort of a band where like, yeah, we don't have that many fans, but generally I think it's the underdog thing too. It's like generally it's like none of our records were really more popular than any of the other ones really. We never got super popular. So people like in that underdog spirit are like somehow I like all the records, like
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that really like our last record, which is now like we said 11 years old.
Yeah.
But you would think in a band that's been around so long, people are like, it's like, I'm bored of that new shit. I think there's a shit about that new
Yeah.
shit. Or you would think that a new record's coming out and people would be just like, what? I mean, I'm sure there are a ton of people that go, what are they doing that for? Those old farts or whatever. But if you do like Sam I Am, like in general, you're like a person that's like, oh, I really want to hear that because I mean, you could probably say this more than probably every guy in every band thinks this and says that what I'm saying, but I think it is true, and I could be wrong, but I think it's true. It's like people like the whole shebang in general, right? It's not like, yeah. So I just mentioned Bad Religion. I love Bad Religion, but I haven't heard a Bad Religion record except like slightly for 20 years, and I'm not really particularly interested in the new Bad Religion. But it's not like I don't love Bad Religion anymore. It's just like I don't know the new.
You're tied into what you knew.
Yeah. Whereas I think Sam people do like look in general do, at least the ones that come to our shows.
Yeah. So you guys had the 2. You went to a major label. You went to Atlantic, right?
Yeah.
And they're out there pushing that for you, and the video for Capsize comes out, and you guys are starting to hit. And there was that time in the '90s where the mainstream, all the punk bands are being discovered. You capitalized on that to a certain degree, right? So where does then the second then you guys left Atlantic, right? And then you went to what was the next you went to another major.
Yep. Well, it was a Tommy Boy, which is Warner Brothers label called
right. And that was for the next album. What is it?
You're Freaking Me Out.
You're Freaking Me Out, yeah. Which I saw that wasn't on some of the streaming platforms anymore recently. What?
Just this last week, it dropped off because we were taking back that record from a label that's been putting it out for the last 10 years, and they on their own. We didn't really actually realize that they on their own put that record up on Spotify and was collecting all the royalties and not paying us our royalties, and it'll take a couple weeks before we get back up. Just
get it back on. Okay. Wow.
I always wondered about that. How much creative control the artist has for the streaming, because bands like Tool, they waited forever to release their catalog. You see Taylor Swift, she had the Outlash with Spotify.
That's a big band's different than us. Us is just more like were like kind of half-assed and fucked up, and we realized like, wait a second, because you're supposed to get like somewhere between $5 and $7 million, five, yeah, $5,000 or $7,000 per million streams, right?
Right.
We own the rights to that, so we should get all that money.
Right.
And then it was sort of brought to our attention a little bit by Bill Schneider, the guy that he sort of manages Billy Joel or Green Day. I'm not sure exactly what his job is. He's been with Green Day for forever.
Right.
And he's helped a lot of bands get their stuff away from like old labels. And we just looked at our royalty statements from this label, and it's just like, we're getting hundreds of dollars, or like, if you add all five of, or it's like 6 or 7 of us that get royalties from that record,
Right.
we're getting like, we're not getting anything for the streaming. Like, we're getting probably too little for the vinyl too, but we're used to getting ripped off that way. But like for streaming, that we own the rights, and whatever. I don't want to bore people, but and Samiam is just like, and it's not unusual getting ripped off by a label or whatever.
Yeah.
But this is one where we have the rights to it, whereas all other, like, there's 8 other records, we don't have the rights to any of them. They're like for example, Clumsy is owned by I could go through it, but this is one that we actually own, and we sort of realized that, and so like Epitaph, who owns the rights for the vinyl, is putting the vinyl out, and we are
Really cool.
yeah, and we're just reorganizing that record. So yeah, we didn't time it well, and we're sort of like lame asses. That guy I mentioned, Bill, is helping us get it on Spotify and everything.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty keen observation though, because it's just the last week or so, and it sucks. I keep getting like Instagram or text messages from people around the world saying, "Hey, when's that coming back?"
I listen to it a lot. I'll be honest with you. I have a
okay.
CD, but I don't have a CD player in my car anymore.
Right.
So I was like, all right, well, I listen to that album quite a bit. And
we're trying to make people hungry for that record for some reason. No.
Yeah, it's such a good album though. Yeah, so, and that's how I noticed. I went on the other day and I was like, I know I have this in my saved, music, and now it's not there. So, and I come across that every once in a while with, albums that I have in my saved, list, that, all of a sudden they're gone, and it's usually some kind of dispute. So.
Yeah, sometimes they actually disappear, and I have to like email a guy. Like I do graphic design, and I work for Warner Records a lot, which is actually just down the street from me. And one time I was working on a Talking Heads record, laying out like we released like 50-year anniversary or whatever it is, record. And then I don't deal with people in the business affairs or anything to do anything. No one knows anything, that I work with, except my friend that works there, that I was in a band that was on Warner Brothers or anything like that. And I never bring it up. It's kind of unprofessional. Like, hey, I used to be on Warner Brothers. But I actually asked, she's actually the creative director of Rhino Classics, which is like which puts out, catalog stuff.
Yeah.
I said, could you hook me up with the streaming guy? It was so great, because if I didn't work for them on a freelance basis, I would have no idea like who to talk to at Warner Brothers.
Right.
And I started emailing that guy, and it was like, I don't know where it was, in some territory like Clumsy wasn't on, or it might have been also You're Freaking Me Out at some time, because they own it outside of North America. And it was great because I just did an email and I'll look into it, and like a day later it was back up. Right.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
So.
Crazy that it comes to that, and but I guess it happens to a lot of bands and a lot of music that, these situations happen, so.
I think a lot of bands, like the size and the era of Samiam, that have been broken up for 15 or 20 or 25 years. They have streaming up there, and they were on labels that don't exist anymore and stuff, that no one in the band's paying attention, and just like a lot of just like us in a way with your freaking me out, a lot of money is going to someone's pocket, like
Yeah.
some guy that lives in Long Branch, New Jersey, that used to own a label 25 years ago,
Yeah.
right? And he owns the rights to streaming to 15 bands, and like maybe 2 of them still actually stream like, I don't know, 1 million every other year, which it's $7,000 in that guy's pocket or something like that every year.
Yeah.
And like there's maybe the drummer died and the bass player and the singer don't talk anymore, and they're all just like, oh, I did that when I was kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they was like, like Hopeless or Epitaph or whatever, they have these, let alone major labels, they have these or Fat Records, they have these vast catalogs of streaming, and everyone always talks about how the music industry is shrank or is dead, but labels like Hopeless and Epitaph in particular, they're having their biggest years, like especially the last like 5 or 6 years, so streaming's really taken hold. They're and through other publishing means, they're having their best years financially ever now, and I don't even think in those labels, it's like a lot of bands just don't get paid properly because they don't really have to, because their contracts didn't say anything about streaming and stuff, until you go and fight for them. There's no person like at a label that says, now we need to go and make sure we get all these millions of dollars that we collect every year, and make sure that the proper person gets all of this money. Like, it's not always just like some kind of rip-off malicious thing. It's just like, you want me, that would take a full-time job for somebody, and we're not going to hire someone just to make sure people are too stupid or lazy or ignorant, don't know how to get the money that they're owed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I guess that proves the differences in music, say 20, 25 years ago to now, where the platforms are different, album sales, CD sales, everything changes, and contracts are now different because, yeah, you don't, if you had a contract 10 years ago, you didn't know anything about streaming. So,
yeah, I mean, usually once CDs started, contracts you usually would say for all formats, known or unknown, or a few
Gotcha.
technologies.
Right.
Like as far as I know, although like we don't have our contracts, like most of them are lost or whatever. Most of them said that once CDs came out, because once like when CDs came out, if you remember, it was almost like it felt almost as revolutionary, even though it was completely different kind of dynamic as when streaming came out. Right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, absolutely.
Whoa, like unbelievable. You can have this in your car and listen to like a song,
Yeah.
like in your car. Like I tried that once. Well, I mean, we had cassettes, but where it sounded as good as it did.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas before that, it's like, what are you going to do? Get a record player in the back seat? But
Yeah, exactly.
and cassettes, like I love cassettes, they're cool, but like they always sound like
They wear out.
and they wear out, and they
out you.
they always get eaten by your shitty like 72 Corolla or whatever.
And now you have this device where you could play any song from anywhere at any time you want.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But let's talk the new album, the new single, Lights Out Little Hustler. I think to me it has a very classic Samiam sound, which was like, was exciting for me to hear because, a lot of bands, when they do take a hiatus or whatever you want to call it, they come out with something years later, the sound is completely different. They've changed to the current, I don't want to say mainstream sound, but they change their sound to what they're into now. Personally, you have bands that you probably listened to back then that you don't listen to now, and bands you listen to now you didn't listen to back then.
Yeah, totally.
Influences change.
Yeah,
So,
and also like members leave and come, and new guys write, and they write completely different. And with Sam, musically, it was always me and James, our old guitar player that quit in 2000.
right.
And then now it's musically mostly me and Sean, the other guitar player, and me and Sean have like completely different musical tastes and different ideas of what a Samiam is supposed to sound like. He wrote the music to that song, and it still sounds like Samiam.
Yeah,
and
yeah, it does.
it's cool. He writes a lot of other songs that to me don't like to Jason and him totally sound completely Jason the singer like Sam I Am because they have a wider idea of what Sam I Am is and could be like aesthetically than I do. But I think that song I mean, but you know that song sounds like Sam I Am, but like I feel like the title "So Long Little Hustler" is kind of like this like cool guy, kind of like who I didn't even know what it means. It doesn't have anything to do with the lyrics, and it's just it sounds like some like hipster band from Brooklyn or something like the title. Like to me, and I'm not mad at it. I'm not bummed on it, but I'm just like that's like okay, that's now what Sam I Am is like. We have song titles like "So Long Little Hustler."
Does Jason write all the lyrics?
He usually he does.
Okay.
Except for like a song here or there, like over the years, I'm even going way back to early records. I wrote a couple of songs, but it, well, you know, earlier I was talking about how it took like, you know, about 9 years or something,
Yeah.
or 8 years since we started writing music for this record to actually finish it with vocals. When it took an entire year after we were fully done recording all the music to 15 songs to get him to finish vocals for I think 12. I think that's how many on the record. I'm not sure how many are.
Okay.
And to get it done, Sean ended up writing vocals to a bunch, like 2 or 3. And like they did vocals with Chris Waller, you know, one of the singers of Hot Water Music, and I think he did a lot of the singing, but he wrote a lot of the melodies, and stuff, and or you know maybe not wrote, but helped Jason a lot to get this done because yeah, like it was a struggle. Like we started demoing this record right a month before the pandemic hit. In fact, we like when the pandemic was happening. You know, we like I said before, we were in Green Day studio, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we have that mega tour was supposed to be starting in Asia, like in April, I think, of 2019." And we were like, did those demos, and we're like, "Okay, we're going to come back and record in the studio and do the record in March or April." And they were like, "Yeah," because I think they're going to cancel that tour of Asia because of this. You know, they erroneously call it this SARS thing, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, what? Like all those millions of dollars we're talking about, and those wimpy rock stars in Green Day are going to cancel the tour because of SARS. Remember last time SARS happened, and like 4 people got sick in Toronto, and like 1 guy in Hong Kong or whatever it was, like those wimpy guys. And then like I was early on, like self-imposed lockdown before lockdown happened. But it's like literally like 3 weeks after I scoffed at them canceling their tour. You know, I was like by myself right here, going like telling my girlfriend, "Oh, I don't know, I don't want to. We shouldn't see each other because like the end of the world is coming." And so we didn't end up doing. We did the drums like a year later, but we did them in Brooklyn because like lockdowns were still happening, and so like our drummer did the drums without us.
Okay.
Never done that before. He did it by himself with the engineer, and then we did the guitars. We were still always thinking after we did the drums that, well, okay, this is going to blow over, this pandemic thing, and then we're just going to go back and record for free at Green Day's place like we did our last record. But that just didn't happen. And by the time when we did do our record, which is like not last summer but the summer before, the guitars, the string instruments, that big giant stadium tour was happening. So we couldn't do it at their studio, and we actually had to pay.
Yeah.
We actually had to pay for our recording instead of like riding on the coattails of Green Day. And so yeah, we recorded the strings down in Florida, in Gainesville. And like I said, then yeah, it took an entire year for Jason to sing, and for it wasn't for lack of wanting to do it. It was like he literally didn't sing anything for almost 2 years. Like our last tour, I think was Japan. Our last shows, I think, in the end of 2019. Or no, we played maybe one or two like shows after when in America after. And then lockdown happened and stuff. I mean, like he has 2 kids and like lockdown. I just don't think he like hardly thought about singing, but definitely did not blow air out of his throat, out of his mouth like you do when you sing. So, I wasn't there for any of the singing because he did like I think 4 different like half week or week sessions where he lives in Oakland in the Bay Area. And then he finished it all up where we did the stuff in Gainesville. And by the time like halfway through, he sounded like the same guy that like you've heard, like he has a big giant voice. He's a husky guy with this big old voice. But apparently when he started, through lack of using his throat muscles and abdomen and lungs or whatever, he was out of practice and he couldn't sing. I assume, I can only assume, but through a variety of reasons, like out of practice, out of like physical conditioning, out of inspiration, and then also out of like headspace. Like I do an easy part. I write little things in my head that comes out of my fingers on this like piece of wood, right, and metal strings. But for him, it has to be like also in his brain, but it has to come from his like the middle of his body, like literally and figuratively, and like figuratively through his heart and like whatever, but literally through his lungs and out is it's just like such a harder thing mentally and physically than it is for me. So when I say any of this, I'm not like going, hey, what the fuck's wrong with you? Why'd you do it? I did my part. It's he carries like 90% of the load on his shoulders, and I completely had a lot of empathy. I'm getting a little long-winded. I'm sorry.
I know.
But basically, he needed a lot of help to finish it, which is usually he doesn't. And so Sean actually wrote a lot of the lyrics. All that long-winded blabbing was basically to answer your question. Does he write the lyrics? And it's like usually he does.
Right. Okay.
But and in that year that took him to write, I had little conversations. I had exasperated conversations with Sean, who's like, Sean went, pushed Jason, helped Jason do it, flew out every time to wherever Jason is singing, and like was his cheerleader / like vocal producer or whatever. While I sat at home on my ass, But like halfway through, or no, a third of the way through, a quarter way through, when the reports back from both Jason and him were like, this isn't going well, I was like, well, we shouldn't be pushing Jason, because like you don't want to put out a shitty record after 30 years, right? And if you push someone to do it and they're not ready or whatever the reason is, it's just going to be shitty. And Sean was like, no, fuck that. We have to. We like signed this contract. We took like a fair amount of money and we owe it to the label. And also, I really want to do this. Speaking for Sean. And me, I have a little LA band and stuff. It's like I don't really need Samiam. I love Samiam and stuff, and I want to do it when we can and stuff. But it's like we've kind of done everything that we set out to do in a lot of ways. And then it's like, if it's not going to be great, I don't want to be a part of it. So I was actually like writing text to Sean saying, stop, don't push him. Just like, if this doesn't happen, this doesn't happen. I know we all, but especially you, Sean, put way more effort than everybody else. But if this doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. And also, it's better if it doesn't happen, if it's not going to turn out well.
Yeah.
And to Sean's credit, like it turned out really great, awesome. We're all really happy with it. I think it's just as good as any other record, or better than others that we've ever done. And kind of even more than Jason, it's due to Sean.
And I mean, obviously, you've been with Jason for such a long time. I mean, I think, do you kind of know what buttons to push a little bit more than others? And
I do. And that's why I didn't text him. I texted him, good luck, buddy, on some of the sessions I did on the first day. I never said anything remotely like, if we don't get this done, man, like you gotta pull yourself up by your steps. I didn't do anything like that, and I purposely did that, and that's because I do know Jason really well after all these years. And my old dickhead self in the old days would be like, "Come on, you fucker! What the fuck are you doing? Like, we did all this, and like, what's up?" But I'm a little bit older and wiser and more empathetic and actually less egotistical about my part of contribution, which is minimal compared to his, to why people like this band. And I'm like, and so yeah, and I don't think, like, this might sound a little weird, but I think that Sean isn't as mature in this perspective about where he lies in the band. So he was just like mercenary at getting this done and forcing Jason for the first time ever. Like me and Sean fight like cat and dogs. Well, we don't now really, because I always back off. I go, okay, we'll do it your way, right? But like when 15 years ago, we made a record where we fought every day for a year and a half, actually longer, and really like badly. And I was like, fuck this band for a long time. And started other bands, just because it's not fun when you fight with another guy about every fucking step of the way. We did fight out every step of the way in this record too, but most of the time except for a couple little things where I just said, okay, we'll do it your way. And in a big way, this record is way more, a reflection of him and his aesthetic and ideas in his mind. Because yeah, I just like I'm total beta now. Whereas, I mean, for a long time, I've considered Sean to be the new guy. I mean, he's been in the band for 27 years, so it sounds kind of silly, but it's like Samiam had a career for almost 10 years, and we put out. He came in after You're Freaking Me came out. We had like 5 records before he ever joined this band, and for a long time, I guess I was kind of a dick, and I was like, "Shut up, new guy," you know.
Well,
and now it's flipped. He's
yeah.
like,
so yeah, because after that, what came Astray, and then
yes,
Trips, I think.
no, then a record called Whatever's Got You Down.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, but I think each album does have that signature sound. I mean, Jason's voice is very. I've always enjoyed it because he has that tone, and then once he gets up into that higher register, when he goes into the more aggressive style, you guys have that formula where you guys are kind of low on that sound, and then all of a sudden the song just opens up to when you get into your choruses, the song just opens up. He hits that high register, and everything just starts, like, the power of that song kind of takes on. And I think it's something that you guys have kind of like, that's the formula that you guys have gone with. And I think that's what makes, I think that's the Sam I Am sound, so from a listener's perspective,
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't scream when he goes to the high part as much as he did like in the beginning of the band, but he still has this big voice. You know, that a lot of singers that are technically better singers don't have and can't do, right?
But I'll tell you what, he pulls it off live too.
He does. He didn't for a while. We had a long stretch where we'd go on tours and he'd lose his voice the first week and kind of be kind of shitty. And people used to always comment about, mostly in Europe, because that's where we toured most regularly, like in the 2000s. But he still smoked and he still stayed up all night. And he drank too much, and he'd just be like drunk and yelling at 3 a.m. And it's like, well, you're gonna lose your voice, and he would. But I think having kids and getting older, and think something clicked in him, and he doesn't get too drunk. He doesn't smoke. He hasn't smoked in a long time. And now, yeah, if you look at YouTube at Sam Am, like, he's the best he's been since those years when we took a band kind of seriously, when we were like on a major. He's definitely the best. Just even though, like, you look at him and he's like, you look at all of us and go, oh shit, these are old parts right here. But his voice actually sounds kind of the best, like as good or as better than it ever has. And he takes it more seriously, the singing aspect of being in the band.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited to hear the new album. I think that, and I think seeing you guys again live. I'm gonna try my best to get up to that New York show.
Are you really south on the shore, or are you like close to New York?
Yeah. So we
Are you guys
are.
near Philadelphia?
So we're an hour and 15 minutes outside of. We're like directly east of
New York City?
Philadelphia. So we're
Philadelphia.
we're about a
yeah,
half
so-
hour. We're about 20 minutes to a half hour south of Long Branch.
What a weird day to have a conversation then, because I'm
Because
a 49ers fan, and all you
right.
guys and all your local listeners are the enemy, and fuck you all until this is over today.
So Jersey's very weird because South Jersey, they love everything Philadelphia. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of like in Central and North Jersey.
Oh, so you like the Giants or the Jets?
Exactly. More Giants, Jets.
All right, take back the fuck you then.
So no. Trust me, I say fuck you to those people all the time too.
No, but I was saying fuck you to you two and all your listeners.
Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm a Cowboys fan.
And I'm Steelers.
Oh, good.
And he's a Steelers fan.
Sorry about last weekend then.
Although last weekend, because his fiance is a Giant fan, he decided to don a Giants jersey.
Oh, right.
Down on his Steelers.
Right.
You
come on,
turncoat.
Come on, Sergie. You do it for love.
You
do it for love.
Turncoat.
Yeah.
But I like your chances today. I'm rooting for you guys.
Yeah. Agreed.
I can't never root for the Eagles.
Purdy's gonna.
The drummer of my LA band, Jared, he's from Cherry Hill.
Oh, okay.
So he was actually for a funeral. He was out in Philadelphia last weekend, and we were texting. We texted a bunch because I was talking about cheesesteaks, and so he texted me a picture of him eating at cheesesteaks at like. Actually, I thought he was going to go to Pat's or Gino's or something or Jim's, but he actually texted me from the airport. I was disappointed it was at the airport. Some chain place. But then he doesn't like football. We never have ever talked about anything sports related or anything, but except for playing like tennis or whatever. But I text him and I've never met his dad, right? But I just say, Jared, it was right when the game started. We were texting, and I go, "Are you and your dad watching football?" Because I was just watching the Philadelphia game because I figured that probably like with any luck, that's who we'll be playing the next weekend. And he goes, "Yeah, my dad just turned it on." I was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll tell you what. I think Purdy's the real deal, man. I mean, the guy's just been on fire. I don't see. I mean, you got two great defenses going up against each other today, and I think it's going to be a low-scoring game.
Yeah, it's going to probably be like last week in a way.
Yeah. I think so.
Which is like a heart attack the whole time. It's funny, like
it's aggravating.
I have a twin brother, and although he plays guitar and he plays in bands and stuff, he never really like toured, and it was like like Samiam. Uh-huh. So, in the late freaking 80s till maybe whenever Kaepernick got the 49ers good, like the Harbaugh years, and the A's, and when the A's, the baseball team did kind of well somewhere around the same time, it was a good like 20 years since I was a kid that I like sports. And my brother would be always like, I'd get in his car and it would have some talk radio talking about the Warriors or the A's or mostly the 49ers. And I'd always just like make fun of them, because I was into other things like sports. I mean, sports are so stupid. Like, especially if you're not playing them, they're really stupid, right? Like you win the Super Bowl and the next day you're just like, well, that didn't change my life at all, right?
What do you do now?
You get so into it and you get life or death. But somewhere like say like beginning of the Kaepernick when the Niners got good and the couple years the A's got good, and then the freaking Warriors got super good. And I'm old, so I don't do a lot of things that I used to do that like young person cool things to do. So I just sort of like without thinking slid into caring about all this stuff. And it sucks because there's nothing more like there's nothing really that gratifying about being a sports fan. It's all just like you lose all the time and you get pissed off,
Yeah, you can only be one winner, and if it's not you, then that means you're not first, you're last.
Yeah, and like if you lived in a city like Buffalo, which I have a really soft spot in my heart, or Cleveland, which I don't have a soft spot in my heart, but still, like all you have is just like, like your entire life since you're a little kid till you're in a old folks home is just like misery.
They've never won
Right?
anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
Buffalo has never had a championship of anything. I don't.
I'm probably like maybe college, like lacrosse or something like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But worse than that, I mean, if you're in Buffalo, it's worse because they like I have these friends from Buffalo and then I was texting them the whole time during the game they lost to the Chiefs last year. And it was one of those like you can't get more dramatic.
Yeah.
As that game was. Like, I mean, I haven't seen a game that was crazy as that game. Actually, I have. This year there was a couple of them, but in a playoff game where like there was like 3 touchdowns in the last like 22
that
seconds.
that was a good game. Yeah.
And but I was texting like what like you know like they miraculously lost the lead to and then they tied it up to go into overtime or whatever, and then just I was texting like with 1 second to go, it's like fuck yeah, Buffalo, and then with 10 seconds after that, I go, oh my god, I'm so sorry, right?
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. So you said you have a twin brother. Are you guys identical twins?
Yeah, like in the pandemic, he decided to grow his hair. His hair's about that long and it goes out to here.
Right, okay.
And that, like, the older we get, like our faces, our faces get crumpled like old farts. So like we're very easy to tell apart now. But like I look pictures when we were like under 10, and I sometimes could tell because he had like fatter cheeks or whatever.
Right.
But a lot of times, like I don't know who's who.
Right. Did you guys ever pull a switch on anyone just to mess with them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In schools, stuff like that. Girlfriends.
We never did that. That's the question that every dude asks a twin. It's like, yeah, you ever like?
Well, I'm wondering if he plays guitar. Has he ever shown up to play a set for you? Somewhere?
Yeah, he played a Samiam show, and I used to play drums, and I went on tour with a band, a small tour in the late 80s when Samiam just started out, and they got a show opening up for Soulside. Like at the time, that was kind of a big deal. But I was like, oh, I can't do it. But my brother Sasha will do it, and so my brother played it. I think he might have played that weekend like 2 or 3 shows, and they just didn't say anything from stage and whatever. I mean, most people knew because like they know him or whatever. But and we weren't. Who knows how few people were there at all? But how few people cared about Samiam. But if you didn't know and you were just a casual observer, like no one told.
Right.
Wouldn't know. Yeah, but
so you guys kind of started in that Gilman Street.
Yeah, totally.
Scene, right?
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of bands that came out of that scene. That reference how great it was for you guys to have a place like that. For us, we had City Gardens, which was kind of here in the east, in the suburbs.
That was quite a bit different though. Like that was like we played City Gardens, and it did not have a friendly vibe like Gilman.
No,
like not in the neighborhood. Like the neighborhood was like crazy, but also the schmucks that owned it like would hire asshole bouncers, and like it just didn't have a community vibe.
Yeah. At one point, there were some lean years where it got a little too violent, and
we actually played there one year, like say 93, and then maybe not even a year, like 11 months later, we played a TV show in Manhattan, which was the Jon Stewart show.
Yeah, Jon Stewart. Right? Yeah, when you guys were on Jon Stewart, yeah.
And like Jon was a very nice guy, or very nice to us. Like he came, hung out with us in our dressing room for like a long time, and he was like shooting shit and drinking a beer or whatever. And he was like, yeah, like we were like, oh, that's cool. You know our band? And he goes, yeah, fuck yeah, I know your band. I was the bartender at your show with Shelter last year at City Gardens. He was like, and now you have this TV show, this big studio and what?
Yeah.
And then,
it was weird that it was that quick,
Yeah, and then he became famous or whatever in the years to come, and we're like, oh shit, Jon Stewart, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That bartender from City Gardens is now like world famous Jon Stewart.
And it's funny, they just they're about to actually demolish the building. It's now been deemed I guess a hazard. it's falling apart. So
Mm.
some of the old like crowd that used to hang out there broke in and stole the disco ball that was
Neat.
hanging. So someone's
Yeah.
got the disco ball.
I mean, I'm sure there's a community amongst the people that went there, the fans that went there, uh, like like Gilman, but Gilman was like member. It was sort of like audience ran, like it was all like very communal and much different than what most clubs are. You
Right.
know.
Is I have to ask one lyrical question in the song Dull when you talk about the Gilman Street and you say the Doughboys broke up. I love the Doughboys. Did they really break up there?
Yeah, they live. No, it wasn't. It said something
Someone's
about
house, right?
yeah, in the front lawn. They stayed. We all loved the Doughboys at the time, and they played Gilman and stayed at Marty, the bass player at the time of Samiam's house, like his parents' house,
Right.
and got in a big fight in the lawn. And Jason and Marty go, "Oh shit, Doughboys broke up." Uh, uh, but like like we know like Kastner and stuff, and Kastner's like, "What's up with that song lyrics? We never broke up. What are you talking about?" Or whatever. Like I wasn't there and I didn't write those lyrics.
Right.
Jason's like, fuck that guy Kastner. He's the singer of Doughboys. He loves
Yeah.
Doughboys or whatever. But they broke up. Like he doesn't remember right.
I think he's in LA now too, isn't he, Cassie?
Yeah, he's lived in LA for years and years and years.
Yeah. I think he does some kind of
He
music.
works for he works for Coverside, which is the biggest indie distributor of vinyl
Yeah,
in
that's
America,
yeah.
which is like 3 miles up the street from me.
Yeah, I had
I
their I think it was the manager one time, Greg Jacobs. I don't know if you know Greg. He
I
was,
know the name actually. Yeah.
yeah, so he also managed Big Drill Car and Rocket from the Crypt.
Okay.
He's out in LA, and I did an interview with him a couple years ago. He wrote a book called Hell on Wheels, which is a compilation of tour stories from different bands that he interviewed for this book. And he was telling, he's had a lot of stories about Doughboys, and he was the one who was telling me that Kastner's is out there doing that.
Yeah, he's married to a woman that's an actress that was like she was Don Draper's wife in Mad Men.
Yes, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, and they have a kid. One time, we went to like my friend's birthday, and he was there, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And he introduced me to his wife, and not even an inkling of me. I was watching the show at the time, but inkling. I was like, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you." And then my girlfriend goes, that's freaking whatever her name was in Mad Men. When we were walking away, and I was like, "Ah, shit," because she's blasé about Christina's blasé about seeing stars, but I always freak out. And then I live where I live, it happens all the time. Like one time we were drinking coffee, and this is a perfect example of me just like flip it out. But we were drinking coffee, and we look over, and it was like Leonardo DiCaprio, just like I don't know,
Leo.
5 feet away
Right.
in a table. And everyone, it was a yuppie coffee shop, so everyone's dressed nice, but we are just in a jog, so we were dressed as sloppy as I'm dressed right now. And I think the waiter was like, "Oh, I like this couple right here because they're just sloppy. They're not like one of these rich fucks." So he gave us this thing, which I think costs like $12, whatever, but it's a glass. It's a little cup of espresso, and they put a jelly donut in it, like a piece of jelly donut, and that melts in it, right?
What?
And yeah, it's a thing, and it's what yuppie like thing. But when it came, and he gave it to us for free, or gave it to her for free.
Right.
When it came, this guy leans in and over and goes with this big smile, and we already saw he was eyeballing it. But he asked Christina, he goes, "How is it?" And Christina goes, "Oh, you want to try it?" And he goes, "Oh no, oh no." And I'm like, "This fucking Leonardo DiCaprio is talking to my girlfriend," and I'm like, I'm not saying anything. I never said anything. I was like, right? But she was like, "Oh, you want to try something?" She's all casual or whatever. One time I went to this thing. It's called Adopt a Landmines. Adopt a Landmine. And it was because where I worked, it was like a $1,000 plate like benefit dinner at some fancy hotel, and it was the wife of Paul McCartney, she did it to make money, and she did it every year or whatever. Like rich people went there, and you're supposed to donate like whatever, and you pay $1,000 to sit there. But like Variety, the magazine I work for, like paid for mine. They're like, oh, Sergie, the art department loves the Beatles. Like, and he's a musician. Like he's in a silly little band. Like, let's give one. Like all the other ones went to the executives or clients, like the guy from Xerox or whatever. But then there was one extra seat for me, and I went. And it was a really weird thing. Like Jay Leno emceed, and he did stand up, and then Neil Young played, and then there was more Jay Leno, and then Paul McCartney played, like full band, like to sing.
Really?
And he plays in stadiums, right, with his full band, right?
Sure.
But this was in a ballroom, and there was maybe 500 people, 600 people. But right after Neil Young played, or before, whatever, you know, like Paul McCartney did the schmoozy thing where he went like out to everyone's table and didn't actually speak to people. Maybe spoke to some of the more like higher up like assholes, but mainly just went around, just go, how are you? How are you? Like, so don't forget to donate or whatever. And I just was like, feeling uncomfortable. What am I doing here and stuff? But I just turned my head, and it's like literally like, I don't know, 8 feet away from me, it's like Paul McCartney and this really big bouncer, this big giant dude. Like he didn't even come up, Paul McCartney didn't even come to the guy's shoulders, whatever. And he looks over me, and I must have done like, I wish radio people could see me, but I must have went like, meh, you know, like, because I saw Paul McCartney literally grab onto the shoulder and look at the guy, and then have this like mental turmoil of like, look out for that guy. But like he might be like you know, like a Hinkley or whatever,
Yeah, stalker.
or guy stabbed George Harrison or shot
Lennon.
John Lennon.
Yeah.
But also he doesn't want to do that because maybe I'm a guy that's going to donate like $100,000 to his wife's charity or whatever. So he just
Yeah.
and then played it off or whatever, right? And I was just like, oh, but like, yeah, if Christina said, she probably would go, oh, there's Sir Paul, interesting.
I would. He's the one of, you know, if I had a choice of an artist to go see, I would love to see McCartney live.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I do love him, his music. I just, yeah.
Yeah, it was neat. It was super neat.
Yeah.
You should have been like Paul. You would have been like, Peaches, how you doing?
Yeah, Peaches. Or he would have gotten Sergie Lumkoof. That's cool. Hey.
We always ask this of all our guests. If you could be a guitar player in any band, past or present, other than your own, what band would you like to be in?
I mean, it would never work out, so I wouldn't want to be. And I never joined a band. I mean, I joined a band called Knapsack, but they weren't known when I joined. Like, they only had one record out when I joined, and they could probably draw 3 people, so it wasn't a big deal. But I've never joined a band that anyone knew or liked really, and had to step into someone's shoes.
All right.
And I don't think I would, like, you know, like it just doesn't appeal to me.
All right.
Actually, now that I'm like, you know, like older and semi-retired from my like normal profession, I would actually do it. Like, say, like whoever plays, like if Jason White's like decided, oh, I'm sick of being the guy off camera in Green Day or whatever, and they asked me, I'd be like, oh, that'd be fun. Hell yeah.
And you know those guys. You know,
I mean, I know Jason. I talk to Jason every once in a while, but like the other 3 guys who I used to know years ago and stuff, like I don't, like Jason does, but I don't live there, and I don't see him. I haven't like uttered a word to any of those 3 guys in years, even though we recorded. The last time I talked to Mike or Trey was when we recorded Trips, because like they were literally on the other side of the wall. We were recording that record for like 3.5 weeks, and I talked to them, but I didn't even see Billy. He didn't even come out. He didn't even come over to say hi. I'm not saying this like fuck him way. I'm more just like, I don't know why he didn't, but I didn't even see him. So I haven't uttered a word to him in 2005 or whatever. Jason does or whatever. But
Trey,
so I don't know those guys, but I see and know the guy I just said I would in my little fantasy would the guy I would replace.
right. But Trey did play with you guys at one point.
He played in the studio, like Billy Joe forced him to, like we were in between drummers, and we wanted to do I think we demoed a song, or no, we wrote a couple, we recorded a couple songs, and once the main song was for actually for Billy's label's compilation record, and he really wanted Samiam to be on his label's thing, so he sort of told Trey, hey, you're playing drums with Samiam to do this shit. And so like in the studio but he wasn't in the band, or we never obviously never considered like
a member.
But also, like, he's a great drummer and everything. He had complete troubles. We were all shocked about how much trouble he was having playing the songs that we were recording. We were like, holy fuck, this guy, the $1 million baby over here. Like, he's a great drummer, but like, you can't necessarily be a great drummer for every band. And he never heard the songs before.
Right.
But I remember like going like, whoa, this is really trippy. He was getting all like, fuck shit, throwing sticks and stuff and getting all mad. However, we were like, oh, fuck.
And I think you guys also, you have Victor Indrizio was in the band at one point too.
Indrizio, yeah.
I always
grew up
him. Yeah.
He grew up with our bass player. So like he had been in Red Cross and Masters Reality before he was in Samiam. But he after Samiam, he was in like Willie Nelson and like.
Yeah, the guy's been around, man.
Yeah, he's just in everything. But when he was in our band, he was just Aaron, our bass player's childhood friend.
Gotcha.
Like it wasn't like we got some. We did actually get one of the biggest studio drummers of the last 25 years to play on Clumsy, but that wasn't what it was. It was just Aaron's friend.
Gotcha.
We didn't realize that like he was going to be such a like that guy, like as a touring member, he's done all these high profile things, but as a ghost drummer, like not even listed, he's played on so many giant bands.
Yeah, he has. He was great. That Red Cross album that he plays on, I love that album. I think his drumming on that is fantastic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no,
guys. I was like, wow.
He's really well known in the drum world and producer world and music industry world, but he's not at all known in like music fan world. And whereas other people like Josh Freese, people that aren't drummers and aren't in the music industry, they totally know who Josh Freese is.
Yeah,
but people don't really know who Vic is. But Vic is played in pretty much just as much high profile stuff as Josh Freese.
He really has. And I think he's originally from Long Island. I don't know if he's on the East Coast again or not. I don't know.
No, I mean, he might have been born in the East Coast, but he grew up in Simi Valley, California.
Did he? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I think, you guys have had a good lineage of really good musicians that you guys have played with. And I think that's definitely shows on each album. I mean, again, I'm not going to kiss your ass more, but I think it's one of the reasons I always enjoyed your band. You guys you put out great records. That's the gist of it, so that's why I'm excited for the new album. I love the new song, and we're gonna keep playing it, so yeah, we're excited. So, and hopefully see you guys in New York in April. I'm gonna try to get my old fat ass up there and see if I can swing that. Maybe I'll bring my kid if he wants to take a road trip with me. So I bring my son with me to all my shows now because my wife isn't into my music. So,
how old is your son?
He just turned 21. So.
Oh, cool. What kind of music is he into?
Everything now is all punk with him.
Oh wow, cool. Like newer punk, or like he likes older stuff too?
He likes older stuff.
Cool.
So he's a Descendants fan. So I get him into more and more older stuff. But he listens to some new stuff that I'm not too familiar with. But so he'll tell me of bands, hey, you should play this band on the show, and you should play this band on the show. And I'm like, all right, well, listen, we'll put anyone on the show. we got 3 hours to fill up every Sunday. So, but we like to mix it up as much as we can. So,
Cool.
But John's the metal guy, so.
Oh yeah, like what bands are you into?
We just got our tickets to go see Metallica, Pantera, Ice Nine Kills, Five Finger Death Punch. I'm big into Cradle of Filth, Immure, a lot of the deathcore stuff. Slaughter to Prevail, lots of that stuff.
Nice.
He has his own show Monday nights. He does his metal. What do we call it? The metal hour, half hour, 2 hour metal hour?
Metal Faction. I do Mondays for 2 hours.
Do you do anything in like a radio studio somewhere, or is it all like done remote?
Yeah, all remote.
All here.
So actually, my friend who owns the whole, we're a nonprofit, originally out of Canada, is actually from Fremont.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I actually went out there once to visit her out in Fremont, and we went to it was interesting. We went to a show in Oakland, and it was Faith No More and Lords of the New Church.
Oh wow. What venue? What was that?
That would have been like 88.
Oh, it was probably at the Henry Kaiser. Like it was a big giant kind of like hall.
Yeah. It was I don't know if it was too big, but
it was like a 2,000 person place or 3,000.
No, maybe a little smaller than that.
Huh.
Yeah. So, but it was before Faith No More. It was with the first singer. I forget his name.
Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck. Yeah. It was with him. And I remember, leaving that night, our car got broken into. My wallet got stolen.
Oh no!
So
and then you had to go to the airport.
I'm 2 weeks. I'm 2 weeks in Fremont. I got no ID. I'm 18 years old, or maybe I might have been 17 at that time. So yeah, I was a little screwed. I was like, man. But it was an interesting night. So my friend, she knew the reason we went to see Lords of the New Church. She was friends with Stiv. And he came to her house after the show. We had a little party back at her house.
Whoa.
So he came back, and I'm sitting across the table from him, and it's just him and I sitting at the dining room table.
Wow.
And I'm like, 17, 18 years old. I'm like, what do I say? I'm like, so you knew Sid? I was like, oh my God, did I just say that? Really? Who gives a fucking rat's ass if you knew Sid Vicious? Big fucking...
How, was he a nice guy?
No, he was very nice, very quiet. Yeah. Yeah, very, very quiet. So, but it was an interesting, it was my first trip out to California. I had a good time, but yeah, so it was definitely interesting. And now I have friends who live in San Francisco. So I was there a couple of years ago, and, so I'll get out there again. The wife and I like wine, so we go to Napa. And
nice.
So yeah, we're big winos. Maybe a little too much. But so April, new album comes out April, right? Yep. Supporting Bouncing Souls in April, right? We're talking Midwest, Florida, Texas, so Chicago. So if anyone wants to catch you out there, definitely get out and see you guys.
Yeah, and we have East Coast and West Coast shows then too. So
okay, cool. Yeah, I think you're only here in New York the one night.
Yeah, but we haven't announced them, but we have like a string of shows on the East Coast.
Okay, cool. Please, if you can, let me know, because if you got more East Coast, I'd like to try to see if I can catch up with you.
Cool. Yeah, I think Philadelphia is one of them.
Oh, that's perfect for me then. Yeah, that's perfect. I work out there sometimes too, so I can I'm there quite a bit. So yeah. So please let us know. Keep us any cool news that we need to get out to the fans, please, keep us in the know, in the loop. And
maybe you could spin a song from my band in LA on the show.
Yeah, what is it?
It's called Ways Away.
Ways Away, sure, absolutely. Yeah. Our next set, we're actually, the first song is Knapsack, so.
cool.
So, yeah, I definitely wanted to put one of them on there. So
Well, but on a Ways Away song, Make Me Happy. We just put out a record, our second record last year, and it sounds very much like Samiam because I write most of the music. So
awesome. No, definitely. You got our guarantee. We'll definitely get that up for you. So
cool. I need a guarantee to break through in the music industry.
yes. You got it from us, man. Anytime, man. Well, thank you again for joining us. And
Go Niners.
Go Niners today.
Thank you.
Go Niners. And
I mean, I want the Niners to win, but I also just want to survive today without having a heart attack. So
yeah, please. You got
so just like if you could wish for two things: one, that I don't flip out, and B, that Niners win.
Okay, we'll do that. So thanks again, and we'll talk soon, man.
All right, guys.
Appreciate
All
it.
right, man. Take
Bye,
care.
the Johns.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.